Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
Last year, they went and took it.
He struck him out looking.
This year,
the Texas Rangers win the World Series.
They're here to run it back.
It's over.
This is Believe in Texas Rangers, hosted by Mitch Ferreldis.
Corey Seager he's here. Welcome into this episode of Believe in Texas Rangers. Be sure that if you like what you're listening to, you notify yourself for every episode by hitting the bell, liking the episodes, the podcasts. Make sure you tell your friends about Believe in Texas Rangers. You can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, RSS feed, or you can listen and watch every episode on the Believe in Texas Rangers YouTube channel. And today's number one story to talk about on this Thursday Rangers off day is, of course, Corey Seager, who's officially become Corey Seager again after spending the first month or so not playing like Corey Seager. If we think back to when the season started and you consider that everything that went wrong for Corey in the first month and a half or so, he wasn't hitting so great. He was hitting at the end of April, as I failed to have the game logs ready to go at the start of this recording. But at the end of April, he was hitting 236. He was getting on base 319, and his slugging percentage started with a 3. All very un-Corey Seager-like numbers. Fast forward to now. He's slashing 260, 354, 474. Everything's gone up by about 100 points in the categories that matter. Here are the true stats. So Corey right now is on a 12-game hitting streak. He has 8 home runs in his last 8 games. It's not a streak, unfortunately, because there was the one day against Minnesota where he didn't homer, but then the next day he homered twice, so he made up for it. 8 homers in 8 games. And it could have easily been an 8-game homer streak, which on its own is Ken Griffey Jr.-esque. Like, he's hitting the ball like Ken Griffey Jr. did back in the late 90s. It's stellar to see. And he's joining some very elite company when it comes to Rangers players who have hit 8 homers in 8 games. Seager this year. Joey Gallo back in 2021. Josh Hamilton in 2012. That includes the 4-homer game that he had against the Baltimore Orioles. Rafael Palmeiro in 1999, and then Jose Canseco in 1994. Corey Seager is now in a group of some of the most famous Rangers power hitters in franchise history, all because he had 8 homers in 8 games. And given where we were at the start of this month, just the start of this month, not the start of the year, but the start of this month, because I think our expectations were incredibly high about Corey Seager coming into the year. But what about coming into the month of May? Where, like I said, he was hitting close to the Mendoza line entering the month. He was 30 points away from the Mendoza line coming into the month of May. You're not asking questions about, oh gosh, what are we going to do? Is this a sunk cost? Like, let's be honest. He missed most of all of spring training because he was recovering from an injury. He was then shortly after dealing with an injury for the first month or so. But right now, he looks like Corey Seager. He looks like the guy that finished second in MVP voting in the regular season. He looks like the guy that helped carry the Rangers to their first ever World Series title and once again claimed the World Series MVP behind 3 incredibly critical home runs during that World Series. Corey Seager is back. Without question, he is back. During this 8-game stretch, by the way, the numbers beyond just the home runs. He's hitting 10 for 28, which is a .357 batting average. He has walked 7 times, 3 of them intentionally. He's driven in 13 runs, and he's raised his slash line, as I mentioned, to .260 batting average, .374 on base, and .474 slugging. He's back to league average in those categories. And we know, given Corey's history, he's easily going to surpass those numbers once he gets the opportunity to. I think the most fascinating thing for me, and I know a lot of us shouldn't be surprised by this particular statistic, 7 of Corey Seager's 13 home runs this season have come on the first pitch of an at-bat. He loves the first pitch of an at-bat, whether it's a high fastball or a off-speed pitch or a moving pitch coming in on his hands. He feasts on the first pitch of an at-bat. Feasts on it. And this will basically be a warning to the rest of the league, and more importantly to the American League, which is, of course, the league that the Rangers will be primarily competing in. Good luck trying to pitch to Corey Seager, because pretty soon we're going to be witnessing a lot of Bonds treatment when it comes to Corey, especially given the state of the Rangers lineup right now. Because you have Marcus Semien and Corey Seager at the top 2. That's not changing, although there is a funny note about Marcus Semien not playing on Wednesday. We'll get to that in a second. Behind Corey Seager right now is, and no disrespect to Josh, because Josh has done great filling in for Josh Young, but Josh Smith has been the man primarily hitting behind Corey Seager. It was Nathaniel Lowe for a period, but he's been streaking downward as far as his production is concerned. He was really good off of the injured list, but he has not matched that production in the last week or so. There's kind of, at least I would expect most pitchers to perceive it as this, a gap between the 2 deadliest hitters in the Rangers lineup in Seager and Adolis Garcia. And I wonder if teams, and particularly pitchers, are now thinking about game planning the Rangers in a way that prevents Corey Seager from burning them and beating them, like he did the Diamondbacks in Tuesday and Wednesday's games. Pretty soon, the Rangers are going to be faced with situations where Corey Seager will not get many opportunities to swing at pitches. He will not get many opportunities to swing at the first pitch because he's in a groove right now. You don't want to throw off his groove, right? He's in a situation where teams are more likely to just intentionally walk him so that they don't have to worry about facing him. I'm not saying it's going to come all the time, but situations will present themselves that Corey Seager will not get an opportunity when runners are on base. And we're well aware of this fact. He was the runner-up for the league MVP last year. Like, duh. I'm just saying, given the state of the Rangers order, now it helps that Wyatt Langford returns to the order. He kind of helps balance things out. But now Evan Carter's is on the injured list, not back on the injured list, just on the injured list. Maybe it'll change the way the offense runs, or maybe it'll change the way the offense goes. But I wouldn't be surprised if Corey Seager starts to see a lot of forefingers held up from opposing teams' dugouts. But this is very encouraging because we know how important Corey has been to the Rangers since they signed him a couple of years ago. We know that he's going to be here for a lot longer, too. I checked the contract the other day. He's only in year 3. He's got until his age 38 season that he'll become a free agent again. And he's 30 now. Corey Seager is going to be around and producing at this level for quite a while. So there's no concern in terms of having to worry about, oh, well, what happens when Corey Seager is done? Well, we don't have to worry about that right now. And we won't have to worry about it for a while. Like, if anything, we should laud the fact that the Rangers did spend the money to get Corey Seager, because he's kind of been the biggest winner of that shortstop free agent offseason. When it was him and Javier Baez and Dansby Swanson. No disrespect to the other guys, but Corey Seager has clearly been the breadwinner of that offseason. Xander Bogaerts? Like, no. Xander Bogaerts is changing his positions in San Diego. Trey Turner was off to a rocky start in Philadelphia. I know that was a different free agent class, but the idea still stands that the Rangers got the best of the bunch when it came to the young shortstops in that offseason a few years ago. Now, what you hope changes, because Corey is playing as well as he has in the last 8 games, and really he's on a 12-game hitting streak, so Corey's kind of gotten into a groove of things as of late. This whole month, he's looked like Corey again. We can't emphasize that enough. But the team's success has not been there. During this 12-game stretch, or more particularly during the 8-game stretch, the Rangers have only won 3 games. And they have all come at the end of this Corey Seager homer stretch. So they're on a 3-game win streak right now. Well, okay, correction. They got 4 wins during this homer stretch. Because prior to the 3-game winning streak that they're on right now, they had won 2 out of their last 11 games. Things have not been going great team-wise. So we benefit from the fact that one of the most important Rangers batters is turning the corner. But the detriment to that is the fact that the team's still not performing well around him or behind him. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Primarily, it's that the offense hasn't been showing up when they've needed to. Now, maybe Corey looking like Corey again will help with that. But, I mean, we would have thought that be the case regardless of how Corey was playing. And yet we're talking about a team that is coming off of a 2 of 11 stretch and is now on a 3-game winning streak. But I was listening to the conversation that Bryce Paterick was having when he was doing his one of his latest Locked On Rangers podcasts. The idea of even small win streaks, right? Just like little stretches of good baseball. A 3-game win streak right now. The Rangers are about to play the Miami Marlins, who are not one of the best teams in baseball. If anything, they're one of the worst teams in baseball. They traded away their best player at the beginning of this month. They are not trying this year. They're not competing. They're done. This is a weekend that can really catapult you back into division dominance, league dominance, right? Because I don't know if there's many standings watchers right now, but the AL West is just kind of a mess. Like a true absolute mess. Did you know that before Wednesday's game, every team in the AL West had a negative run differential? A negative run differential for the entire division. The entire division. The Mariners are currently sitting in a -7 run differential. The Rangers have a +1, so they are the only team in the division with a positive run differential. The Astros have a -4. And then the Athletics and the Angels are too far for me to do quick math in my head, because apparently the column's not showing up on the page that I'm looking at. That's fine. But the Mariners are 31-27. They've won 5 of their last 5, and the Rangers have won 4 of their last 6, but they're on the 3-game winning streak right now at 27-29. This is a good weekend for the Rangers to get back to 500.
When you're ready to pop the question, the last thing you want to do is second-guess the ring. At BlueNile.com, you can design a one-of-a-kind ring with the ease and convenience of shopping online. Choose your diamond and setting. When you find the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Go to BlueNile.com and use promo code POD to get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. That's code POD at BlueNile.com for $50 off your purchase. BlueNile.com, code POD.
Because the Marlins have already made it clear that they're selling off. Because Miami, this off day in particular, I was seeing some of the pictures from some of the guys' Instagrams that were shared through Twitter. This is a good opportunity for the Rangers to get right again. And look, a lot of you will say, oh, well, it's one of the worst teams in baseball. Like, what are we supposed to gain? Or what is this team supposed to gather from playing one of the worst teams in baseball? Well, you can play like you're one of the best teams in baseball against one of the worst teams in baseball. That's number one. Number two, we'll start to really grow concerned about the Rangers if they were to lose multiple games this weekend against the Marlins. Similarly, so I'm based in Arizona, and the Diamondbacks just hosted the Marlins last weekend, and the Diamondbacks had a chance to get back to 500. They were one game under, and instead, they lost 2 out of 3 to Miami, and then proceeded to lose the 2 games that they just lost to the Rangers. Don't be the Diamondbacks when it comes to playing the Marlins. The Diamondbacks are dealing with a lot of similar issues that the Rangers are. Pitching is hurt. Offense isn't producing. A lot of the players that they signed in the offseason, I mean, the Rangers didn't sign a ton of players in the offseason, and the ones that they did sign have been excellent. But for the Diamondbacks, they're dealing with a lot of the similar issues with injured players and poor offensive production. Strong pitching, but nothing to back up that strong pitching. Sound familiar? It does. The Rangers need to take at least 2 out of 3 games against the Marlins. If they take 2 out of 3, they will be just a game under 500, which puts them in pretty solid position heading into their next upcoming series. If you could just be a game under after this weekend, or heck, if you want to get a game over 500, that works for me too. I'm sure that would be a preferred because then it's a sweep, of course. Just don't overlook this team. And if you want to prove that you're still one of the best teams in the league and the reigning World Series champions, you will take this weekend seriously. That is my charge. So prior to the first game against the Diamondbacks, there was a swing of roster changes because we didn't know who the starters were going to be heading into that 2-game set. It ended up being Nathan Eovaldi, who completely skipped his rehab assignment, was on a pitch count on Tuesday. So he didn't qualify for the win nor the loss, but he threw 3 innings and change. Bruce Bochy had emphasized that he was going to be on a pitch count. So they're kind of treating this like his rehab assignment because, look, this team's decimated right now when it comes to pitching. They called up Gerson Garabito for the final game against the Twins. He's, as far as I know, I think he's still a part of the team's roster. Yeah, he's still on the roster for right now. Because they might need him again to pitch against this Marlins team that they're going to be facing over the next 3 days. With the return of Nathan Eovaldi is also Wyatt Langford, who finished up his rehab assignment, with Round Rock. And now he's back with the big league club. He had a 2-hit game against the Diamondbacks on Wednesday, and I believe he got 1 hit in the game on Tuesday. So, well, I mean, it's been a minute since we played this, but we're talking about it, so we might as well.
Wyatt Watch. Wyatt Watch.
On loop. Oops. So we heard it twice. That's fine. That'll make up for it. It's good to have Wyatt back, but, you know, the numbers are still rather daunting when it comes to Wyatt. And look, we've talked about maybe the stage being a little too big for him right now, but at the same time, the Rangers need him. And I don't know if the Rangers are necessarily in a position that they can send him down to try and fix or get him better adjusted or make him feel more confident, more comfortable because the injuries. That's part number one. And part number two, at what point do you say, well, minor leagues aren't going to help you anymore because he torched through the minor leagues last year. So at this point, you might as well just keep him on the big league roster because then he can face big league pitching and get used to big leaguers. But right now he's hitting .228. He's still got the 1 homer. He's got 12 RBIs. He's got 1 stolen base. And his OPS, is .587. And he's only been back for a couple of games. So it's not like we can rush to conclusion or rush to judgment as far as what's going to be decided with him. Okay, so apologies. He went 0 for 3 in the first game, but then he went 2 for 4 in the next game. Scored a run, drove in a run. So maybe that was a sign of good things to come. The Rangers did score 6 in that final game against the Diamondbacks, so it was good to see that part of the offense return. Because that last one, they really needed Corey Seager's bat to give them the win, much like he did multiple times in the World Series. But Wyatt is kind of a guy. Well, not kind of a guy. Wyatt is a guy who the Rangers will need to rely on and to motivate to get him to the level that Wyatt Langford was in spring training, and at the level that he was at Florida, and the level that he was in the minor leagues last year when he was rocketing up the rankings. If they can get Wyatt to be a catalyst of the order, much like Corey Seager has been, much like Adolis Garcia has been, and much like Marcus Semien has been, and much like Nathaniel Lowe has been, then the Rangers can kind of settle in. Because it's still going to be a bit before Josh Young comes back. Evan Carter just got placed on the injured list. So you don't have your full roster right now. You don't have your full complement right now. So if you can get the guys that are on the roster going and providing the offense and in a groove before some of your other key contributors come back, then you'll be in good shape. So hopefully Wyatt is able to find a groove here against Miami. He was just close to another home run this past weekend. Or this past game. So maybe he can find that power stroke again, this time in Miami. As far as the corresponding moves, I mentioned it a few times already. Evan Carter has been placed on the injured list. He had been dealing with a back issue, and it just kind of pushed him over the edge this time. So they're not trying to day-to-day it anymore. They're just going to put him on the injured list, and he'll come back healthy, hopefully soon. Yari Rodriguez got sent down to correspond to the Eovaldi activation. And then a couple of other transactions. Sean Anderson. This actually happened today. And some people have already made the joke that if he was on the Texas Rangers still, did he just join the team on the flight to Miami and then just switch clubhouses? Because Sean Anderson, who was signed and then added to the 40-man and then was quickly sent down and DFA'd, he's now a member of the Miami Marlins. So we'll get to see Sean Anderson again this weekend, maybe, if the Marlins decide to pitch him. And then key updates from guys who are still recovering from injury. We'll start with Josh Young, who resumed swinging a bat yesterday. And Bruce Bochy mentioned that he looks great on his in his hitting session, I should say. Remember, he's recovering from a wrist injury, the fracture that he suffered back in that Rays series. So maybe he'll be ready to go for a rehab assignment soon. I don't know how soon, but remember, he's still on the 60-day injured list, so it could take some time. And then Max Scherzer, another one of the key guys that has been injured, is set to, or did throw a bullpen session yesterday, threw off a mound for the first time since being shut down earlier this past month. So it's a good sign that Max is throwing again. Maybe this time when they send him on a rehab assignment, there won't be a different injury that he deals with. Karma cap, fingers crossed, whatever you want to do to avoid jinxes. But encouraging signs there, and hopefully they can come back soon because we know how much they need them. A fascinating stat from this past pair of games. Marcus Semien got the day off on Wednesday, and then, of course, with the day off today, it kind of doubles up as a double day off for Semien. But the big thing about Semien, as we know, is that he's played in every game, or most every game, for the Rangers. But his 349-game streak broke on Wednesday when he got to take a seat. As a matter of fact, there was I'm reading Kennedy Landry's story from MLB.com. She says a crew of the media members saw the lineup card and there was a resounding "what?" She writes. It's the first time that Semien has taken a seat in the Bochy era. They did mention that it was related to that collision that Semien had with Adolis Garcia a couple of weeks back against the Angels when the Angels were here. So giving him a couple of days as opposed to just the one scheduled off day was part of their strategy here. It's also only the second time that Semien has not played alongside Corey Seager in the infield. And Seager said, I'm reading, that was a little strange, but, he needs to just take a blow every once in a while. It's okay. So I'm sure he'll be back out there soon. Joked that it was a little strange. I do like the idea of Iron Men in baseball, and Semien is the closest thing we've had to it for a while. Nobody's catching Cal Ripken anytime soon, though. The game has just evolved in a way that guys need some rest more and more often. All right, that's it for as far as recapping. So let's look ahead as to what's to come. The Rangers have 3 games upcoming against the Miami Marlins. It'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then after that, they will come back to Globe Life Field, and they're going to be hosting the Detroit Tigers. That'll be the next team that they have after the Miami Marlins. But again, have to emphasize that the Miami Marlins is not a team to overlook. Do not overlook them if you're the Rangers. Doesn't matter how bad their record is. They've been playing some really good baseball in the last 15 or so games on a stretch where they've only lost like 5 times. So this is not a team to take lightly, at least right now. Maybe later in the season, you won't see them again later in the season, but do not take them lightly this weekend. 20-37 on the year. They're in the bottom of the National League and the last place in the National League East. They've already traded away Luis Arraez earlier this month to the Padres, which was signaling the end of this season. Like, point blank. You're traded away your best player, and you're going to try and convince the public that you're going to try this year. Bull bleep. No, that's not happening. So as far as pitching matchups this weekend, Jose Urena gets to return to the place where he started his career. He's going to be pitching for Texas on Friday, 1-4 record and a 3.53 ERA. He'll go against Sixto Sanchez, who is 0-3 on the year with a 6.25 ERA. Sixto Sanchez was actually the key piece in the JT Realmuto trade a few years ago, but it has not been a fruitful return so far for Miami. Saturday, there is no designated starter yet for the Rangers. If we do quick math, though, you have to assume that even though Andrew Heaney came in relief, there's a chance that he is the one designated for this particular Saturday start. Remember, they don't have John Gray because he went on the injured list. Dane Dunning pitched on Wednesday. So if you have Eovaldi and then Dunning and then Urena, and then you go back to Heaney, and then you could go to Gerson Garabito again for that Sunday. Or you do it where Gerson Garabito pitches on Saturday. That'll be a full 5 days. And then on Sunday, you would go to Heaney. But both of those are TBD right now. They'll go against Ryan Weathers on Saturday. And Weathers has actually had a pretty solid start to his season. Despite a 3-4 record, he's got a 3.16 ERA. He's coming off of a shutout performance against the Diamondbacks last weekend. He was in a trade with the Padres, aforementioned, but a different one, the one that sent Garrett Cooper to San Diego. And part of their deal back, they got Ryan Weathers. And so far, they've benefited from that. And then Sunday, it's once again TBD for the Rangers. They'll go against Trevor Rogers, a one-time All-Star for Miami. Has not been an All-Star since. 1-6 record with a 5.65 ERA for the young left-hander. That'll round out that series. And so that'll do it for this episode. And when we come back, or when we're back on, when you'll hear from us again, gotta find the right tagline there. We will be back after the Miami Marlins series is complete and then get you ready for the Rangers' return home to face the Detroit Tigers and the start of the month of June. So until then, believe in Texas Rangers.
You know when you're listening to a true crime story that has an unbelievable plot twist that makes you stop in your tracks? That's what our podcast, People Are the Worst, brings you with each episode. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Rebecca. We're identical twins who love true crime cases that make you say, didn't see that coming, and we hate the people responsible for them. Listen to People Are the Worst now on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.